And then before we get started, if you have any questions that come up along the way, just post them in the chat, and I'm going to circle back to the chat at the end and answer any questions that might be there. So as you think of a question, just pop it in so that you don't forget what it is. So we'll wait about 1 more minute and then we'll rock and roll. All right, so I've got 12:30. So we are going to get rocking and rolling. So I'm going to just simply share my screen to get us going. All right, there we go. Give it a second here to load. There we go. Awesome. So your success path to the last 10 pounds. It's going to take me about 20 minutes. I'm going to run through this. And then again, if you have any questions, just throw it into the chat. But I'm basically just going to walk you through 5 steps that I take clients through when they go through the 6-week Lift Yourself Lean program, which just helps clients get from their point A to their point B, whatever that might look like for them. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Cheryl. I've been in the fitness industry now for 25 years, give or take. And I love this industry because I really love watching people make physical and mental mind shifts as they get stronger. I truly believe what you accomplish in the gym totally translates over into life. A more strong body results in a more resilient mind out in the real world. So the other reason why I created this particular 6-week program is that people need a way to get started, to get going, to make those small changes, to make those small habit changes that are going to move them forward to whatever their point B is going to be. So whether it's 10 pounds, 5 pounds, it could be more than that, whether it's not any type of a weight loss, but it's just simply getting stronger and seeing changes in the physique happen. So the 5 steps that we are going to walk through, the first one is the time to reset. Once we've done that, which takes about the first 2 weeks of the program, we move into feeling more confident. Step 3 is that we're feeling more powerful. Step 4 is we start to become more unstoppable. Step 5 is that we start to become the inspiration for others. So starting with step 1, which is our time to reset. It's the first 2 weeks of the program. And I do find that this program comes with a bunch of mixed feelings. You're excited, you're super pumped to get started, try something new, but at the same time, you're feeling a little bit nervous and a little bit scared because you may have been trying some other stuff in the past, other programs, other ways of eating or training, and it hasn't worked out. So you have that story still playing in the back of your mind that this might work, this might not work. So it comes with a mixed bag of feelings. But once we get going into the program, the first 2 days is a whole food detox. And it's simply designed just to give your digestive system a little bit of a break. So again, it's whole food and you're not meant to be hungry. So if you find during these first 2 days that you are hungry, you can eat more food that is given to you on those 2 days. You don't have to be limited by what is strictly written out. If you're hungry, I want you to eat more of that whole food that is given to you on those first 2 days of the detox. Once you get past those 2 days, the remainder of the program is really designed to make sure that you get ample protein in at each meal, as well as getting those 2 to 3 liters of water in a day. So a lot of people at the beginning of the program do find that it can be a lot of food. And it's a lot of food if you're not used to eating a lot of whole foods, and if you're not used to having protein at every single meal, because protein is going to make you feel fuller faster and longer. And then of course, increasing your water intake is also going to hold that volume in your stomach as well. But it's those two key ingredients that are going to help keep you satisfied and full as you go through the 6 weeks, making small little tweaks and changes to your nutrition as you go along. So once we've gone through step 1, which is the first 2 weeks of the Lift Yourself Lean program, we're going to move into stage 2, where you're starting to feel more confident. We're now in week 3. We're coming in now into our halfway point of the program, and you're starting to get into a nice groove with your nutrition, your meal prep, and your workouts. But as we all know, life does not always go according to plan. So this is the time where I really have people figure out their backup plans. What are you going to do if all of a sudden you cannot get in your regular workout at your regular time? What are you going to do if all of a sudden your grocery shopping day got moved 2 days later and you're starting to run out of food that you would normally have in the fridge? So coming up with these backup plans is super key to staying consistent and stacking those consistent small wins that keep the feelings of overwhelm at bay and stop you from quitting. So a lot of people quit whenever they start something new because it becomes overwhelming, it becomes frustrating, and it's just much easier to go back to how it was, even though you weren't happy there, than to keep going through. And a lot of it is just because those backup plans are not in place. So coming up with those backup plans are super, super key. And having a coach, if you need one, to help you design what those backup plans are going to look like is also key. So that's why sometimes having somebody on the outside of your life just kind of giving you suggestions on how you can ebb and flow with life's up and downs are huge. So once we get into step 3, so now we're halfway through, we're 3 weeks done, we got 3 weeks left to go. You're starting to feel a little bit more powerful in what you are capable of doing in terms of your training and in terms of your nutrition. Sticking to the meal plans and prepping your food and getting the groceries is now almost second nature. There's less thinking involved, so things are flowing even smoother than they were at the first 3 weeks. And this is sort of the opportunity to start swapping foods out for other foods. So a protein out for a protein, a different vegetable for a different vegetable, a different carbohydrate for a different carbohydrate, and just sort of learning how to do that and trying new recipes. So when you do this particular program, you get a full recipe book, but when you look at the meal plan, all the recipes that are in the recipe book are not all on the meal plan. So there are other recipes that you can tap into. And being a part of the Lift Yourself Lean Facebook group, I always encourage people to post recipes, because you may all of a sudden find or have a favorite recipe that works. It's got the protein, it's got the vegetables, it's whole food, and your whole family loves it. Share it, because you never know who else is looking for a recipe idea and to get out of those food ruts, right? Everybody gets into the same recipes, the same food all the time, and being able to switch things up and keep that food variety is super important to sticking to any type of a meal plan. When you're always eating the same thing day in and day out, it can get boring. And then that's when you're like, screw it, I'm going to order in whatever. And you end up overeating 1,000, 2,000 calories, which is very easy to do when it comes to takeout food. So once we're through week 4, our stage 3, getting powerful, whoops, wrong direction. We're going to move into step 4. And I love this stage because this is when people start becoming unstoppable. We're seeing these mind shifts starting to happen. So you're starting to feel or see your clothes fit differently. You're looking at food differently. You're seeing it as a fuel source and not as a means of satisfying a craving. Food is fuel. Food is medicine. Food is not there to satisfy cravings. Now, are we going to get cravings? Of course. But when you indulge in those cravings every single day, that is when things start to go sideways. And your training is becoming more unstoppable. You're starting to lift a little bit heavier. Maybe you're throwing in a little bit more extracurricular activities like walks, swimming. It could be anything in and above your regular training. And so it's almost like a new you is starting to emerge out of what was, out of from the past. So this unstoppable mindset is what's going to keep you going when you don't feel like working out. We're all going to have days where we come home from work or whatever the case might be, and you just don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like cooking. You don't feel like training. You don't feel like doing anything. You'd rather just sit on the couch, throw on the TV, order in food, and just call it a day. But having this mindset shift, knowing that that is not what's going to keep moving you towards whatever goal it is, knowing that that is not going to feel good with after you eat it, and knowing that that sometimes is not a great thing mentally to do, because who hasn't had food guilt after you have done that? It feels good in the moment, and then that is it. Once you've had it, now you feel guilty for actually doing it. So having this new mindset shift around food is what is going to keep you going with your nutrition and your training when life is just trying to push you down and keep you on the couch. So once we have become or gone through step 4, we're going to move into step 5, which is somewhere. There it is, which is becoming the inspiration. So we are now into our last week of the program. We're into week 6. And now other people are starting to notice other changes or changes that are happening to you. And people might start asking you, what have you been doing? Was it hard? Did it require a lot of time? Does it work with having kids or a family? Does it work with if I travel a lot? And you'll be able to answer those questions because now you've gone through the program, you have done it. You've come up with those backup plans that have allowed you to deal with life's ebbs and flows and curveballs that it likes to throw at us. And because you are not only feeling stronger and healthier and more vibrant, you're able to exude that now onto other people, which is going to empower them to possibly take those next steps to hopefully get healthier themselves if that is something that they are after. So once you have gone through the 6-week program, again, there's a few options that we can do, but that is something that I will chat about later in the fall once we kind of get rocking and rolling with this particular program for anybody who decides to join in. So there's a few ways that the 6-week program, the Lift Yourself Lean program, works in terms of how we can work together. So for some people, this may just seem like an information overload. So in the private Facebook group, under the File tab, I actually have a little bit of a breakdown or synopsis of everything that I just talked about. So you may just need to take the time, review that. Again, this is all being recorded. You may want to go back and watch the recording again and just sort of absorb the information, ask any questions, and just sort of sit on it for a little bit. You may be the type of person who's like, yep, I love this. We are ready to rock and roll. Let's do this. So in the Facebook group as well, there is a link to the Lift Yourself Lean group, or sorry, program that takes you to an information page. So again, there's a little bit more information there where you can get started right away. Here is just sort of how the program is set up online, just so that you know. If you are wanting to start the program, say on Monday, next week, you're going to need to start your set date, because you get to choose the date that you start, as Friday this week. And here's the reason why. I allow for 2 days for everybody to get the information downloaded, print it off if you like, make sure you've read through it, ask any questions so that you are good to go for whatever your day one is. And depending on how we are training, so if you're training in my in-person group classes, that you have the app downloaded in order to reserve those classes. If I am sending you a private training program to either do at home or in the gym, that you have my personal training app downloaded so that you have access to your workout. You need those 2 days just to make sure that everything is set up and ready to rock and roll. Now, summer is still happening. We still have social events. Kids are still out of school. People are still taking vacations. So you may want to wait until all of that starts to settle down in the fall. There is a group starting on September the 18th. Registration for that opens on September the 1st. Registration closes on the 16th because, again, I need those 2 days for everybody to get all of their information, get their training organized and set up and ready to rock and roll. Now, another way that people have gone through this 6-week program is strictly by doing their nutrition, no training. They've either just gone for walks, they may have done yoga, they may have done some Pilates, but no formal strength training. And that has worked just as fine. And so I've had lots of people strictly just go through and just do the nutrition program, or just do the nutrition part of the program and not do the nutrition and the training. So another thing that I've had people ask in the past is, okay, I decide to sign up for the program. How do you coach me as we go through this? So not only do you have access to the Lift Yourself Lean private Facebook group, but you're going to get daily accountability emails from me. And you can always reply back to any of those emails if you have a question. You can ask a question in the private Facebook group. Just make sure you tag me in it so that it doesn't get lost in any of the other conversations that happen. And you can always send me a text message if you've got a question as well. I've had people text me, they're in the middle of the grocery store. Can I do this? Can I have that? And so I understand you need those questions answered right away. And I always do my best to get back to people as soon as possible as you are going through this particular program. Oops. Where's my... There we go. So those are the ways that we work together as you go through the 6-week program. So before I stop my screen share and check to see if there's any questions in the chat, I just wanted to thank everybody for their time today. I know it's in the middle of the day. For some people, you're at work and you're hopping on and keeping it on the DL. So thank you for your time today. I truly hope that you have learned a little bit about how I run people through the 6-week Lift Yourself Lean program. But as a heads up, next week, Thursday at 12:30, so same day, same time, just next week, I am actually going to take people through week 1 of the program. I'm going to show you how week 1 actually looks. So that way, if you decide to do the program, you know exactly what is happening in your week 1. So it's a little bit of a backstage pass is what I like to call it. So I'm just gonna stop the screen share here. I'm going to see if there's any questions in the chat. And again, that's where I just need you. If you have any questions, just post it in the chat and that is where I'm going to answer. And if you have questions that come up later on, totally fine. You can ask them later. And I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. So again, I don't see any questions, so that's great. Obviously, I hopefully answered them as I went through the presentation. So thank you again for your time today. Head off into the Facebook group if you need any of those links. Again, under the file tab, I have a whole breakdown of exactly what I talked about, just in a more condensed form. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. All right. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.